So during these isolation times, thought it might be a good idea to do a bit of a 3-year review on the Waeco CF-50 by Dometic. So these are the older style of Waeco fridges or Dometic fridges. The old dog there making some noise. So they're not the flash new CFX or CF, I think that's what they're called, with the Wi-Fi and all that stuff, and the Waeco compressor. These run the, I think it's called a CCOP compressor in there. But they still make these and sell them. They're a bit cheaper than the flash new ones with all the gadgets and that. So I bought this just under 3 years ago. I think I paid $699 with the case from Tent World. Good shop, that one. And they're on sale these days for about the same price. I've seen them for $5.99 sometimes if you're lucky. So that's a pretty good price, I reckon, for a 50 litre single zone fridge. So I've given this a good run a lot of times. We travelled around Australia for 6 months last year and it ran non-stop off the battery most of the time, or 240 volt if we were at a caravan park or something like that and I could be bothered plugging it in. It's got the basket here, it's removable. This center part can go over either side there. Little dairy compartment there, which is really good. And the lid here, so I've got it set up open on this side because of how it sits in the ute, but you can also pick it up and flip it around to the other side so it opens from here, depending on which way you want to see. So I actually think it's a really great little fridge. We've had no issues with it really. Just turned it on there. It's on 19 degrees, pulls down the temp really quick if you put some cold water bottles in there and whatever, just to help it out, and uses a very little 12 volt power. So all in all, I don't have any real concerns about the fridge. As I said, ran it for 6 months straight, up through the Kimberleys, Cape York, Darwin, super hot, mid-30s. Didn't have any real issues keeping it down, and doesn't use very much battery power at all. So I think for the price, they're a really good little fridge. You obviously, some people are going to have issues, some aren't. We've been pretty lucky so far. As you can see, there's red dust everywhere because it got absolutely hammered in the back of the ute. These cases are pretty good, I think. You need to have one of them really just to help you with the insulation. There was a couple of times I noticed some condensation on the outside of the fridge. I don't really know why, it only happens sometimes. And most of the time I ran it at about -2 or 3 on the thermostat, which I found kept things that were frozen, but didn't freeze things that weren't frozen when you put them in, if that makes any sense. So I like to have things really cold. If we chucked some frozen meat in, it would sit in there and not defrost, but you could chuck your cans and tins of whatever in and they wouldn't freeze and get ruined. So around that -2 is not, so that probably shows the thermostat's a little bit out at times, but not really. It's not really much of a concern. And you just adjust it to your needs. So if we're going on short camping trips, we'll do that, chuck in some frozen cryovac meals and all our drinks, or at times when we were away we just ran it as a fridge and put it up a little bit, so nothing froze at all and there was nothing frozen going into it. So same as when we ran it as a freezer at times when we wanted to load up on meat and we're going remote and that sort of stuff. So look, I think they're a great little fridge. As I said, 24 volt. That's the standard 12 volt plug it comes with. People carry on about how you need to have an Anderson plug because it'll rattle out on corrugations. We didn't experience that at all. They're a pretty handy little plug. I did make up an Anderson plug just as a spare, but never used it once. There's a Dometic shop on the Gold Coast where you can get these pretty cheap sometimes. So yeah, all in all, pretty stoked with the fridge after 3 years. Definitely recommend it. And, any questions, sing out.